welcome back to another episode of the Athlete's Edge Albury podcast. Today you'll see a different man in the chair, so I'm excited to welcome Mitch along today. For those that don't know Mitch, a successful swim coach in his own right, runs a really successful business. Where we get along probably the best is off the back of he's really passionate about helping young people be the best versions of themselves. So yeah, it's great to have Mitch along. And what have you bought for us, mate? Because it's your topic today. So what are we talking about?
My topic, after a conversation with a parent actually just this morning, was around people talk about mindset and getting the right mindset. And I think that everyone doesn't actually understand what mindset means. They think it's a feeling as opposed to a frame of mind or a way in which you see the world. And people think that if they read a book, they're going to feel better about something. And all of a sudden life's going to be dandy and they're going to be able to do these amazing, really hard things. And all of the effort and the discipline is just going to disappear.
It reminds me of a quote. I was actually sitting in a sauna with our very own, can we claim him, Darcy Wilson. And we're talking about the kind of mindset books. And his quote was along the lines of, I'll paraphrase a little bit, self-help books are a waste of time.
Yeah.
And I said, what makes you say that? And he said, the people that read them to make themselves feel good, and then they do jack shit about changing anything off the back of it.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Like, at the end of the day, if you have read a self-help book and your life didn't get better or your performance didn't get better, it's useless. You've got to implement everything, and the world is just full of all these brilliant people who promise the world and say they're going to do these amazing things, and it's always tomorrow or Monday is when the grand plan is going to come, and it's always next week, and it just keeps rolling forward again and again and again. And I've heard it time and time again, seen it time and time again with swimmers, and it's until they go, oh no, it's starting now, and from this point forward, that's when you start to see change come through.
So a question without notice, do you see a trend in your swimming group? Because obviously you've got some really successful kids, some kids with talent that maybe didn't achieve the success you would have expected, as well as kids that just don't quite get there. Is there a difference in their mindset, how they approach things?
Well, I think that the first thing you need to do, when you start talking about mindset, you need to define the terms in which you agree upon of what we're discussing. So for me, mindset is the way that you view the world with what's happening to you and then how you react to it. That's your mindset. So to circle back into your point of like, what is it with kids' mindsets that means some succeed and some don't? The kids that succeed are the ones that act in the right way despite how they feel. And the kids that don't succeed are the ones that let their emotions or their fatigue or external things that they can't control affect the things that they can control, which are actions.
Yeah.
And this goes through anything, I'm sure. Any person who has worked with other people, some people like a roller coaster. I know, like in my earlier coaching years, I got feedback that I was a little bit more roller coastery, and one of the things that I worked on within myself was to be more consistent so the athletes could be more consistent. So it's really, at the end of the day, it's never up to you to decide what happens to you. It's only up to you to decide how you're going to react. And at the end of the day, shit happens in life. You've got to build a bridge, you've got to get over it, and you still got to do the stuff that's required regardless.
Yeah, it makes me actually think back to a conversation I had earlier this week with someone in the AFLW space at club level and now working behind the scenes with AFLW players. And one of the messages he had for a lot of up-and-coming players trying to get into that space, but even current players in there already and trying to perform at their best, was in and around the ebbs and flows. So linking to that sort of mindset and around, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself when things are going well, because that next challenge, failure, is only around the corner. But at the same time, because it naturally is doing this, you also don't have to be too flat, because the next little climb is also around the corner.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And so if you ride the lows as really low and you're at the highs as really high, then you will be like this, because that is sport. That is the journey. But if during all this you can sort of stay as level as you can through the middle, then it allows you to, yes, experience lows, but I think bounce back quicker. And it allows you to experience the highs for a moment, but understand that it is fleeting and there's still a job to do tomorrow. There's been some high case, like I know, and I forget his name, is it AJ Brown or something like that, wide receiver for Philly Eagles. I think he's just left them, gone somewhere else. But he came out publicly saying some of the mental health stuff in the past, but they won the championship. and saying, it did feel that great.
Yeah.
I was expecting that we're the world champions, we're the NFL champs, I should feel amazing. Was like 2 days later, everyone kind of already moved on. Super Bowl's been played, won, now everyone's about their business. And it's like, he felt the same.
Yeah.
And that's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So my message to a lot of young athletes is, whether you win or lose on the weekend, play well, play poorly, Monday is still the same Monday. The same amount of work needs to be done. And I think that is the mindset. So how do I approach this moving forward? Like, what's the tips for athletes? For me, it is, part of it is understanding what is the work that is required, having your schedule set out so you can straight away default to action. So it's not, I was best on ground and we had a big win. I can skip the gym for 3 weeks, or I don't have to train tonight. I'm going to just tell the coach a bit sore, and I'm going to, sit, get a massage and treat myself like a rock star, because the next tough game or the next failure might be that week. So how do you avoid that? Well, you do the work.
Yeah.
If you had a bad game, well, okay, you're going to have to work on why that was the case to improve things, which means you got to get to work. So to me, whether you're successful or not successful, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the same. So I think having that plan, know what you need to work on, and just stick to it is probably a big way to overcome the highs and lows, so that your mindset can stay on track and stays pretty level.
Yeah, I think to wrap the point up is, when you enjoy the training on a daily basis more than the game day or the performance or the competition itself, is the day that you'll end up doing better than someone who is obsessed with competition. And I've seen it time and time again. People that are focused on results are focused on the outcome. They're not focused on what they can control. When kids have gone better, it's been when they're like, I just want to swim like this. I just want to make sure that I race like this. I just want to hit my turn. I want to hit my dive. I want to do this.
Yeah.
And that's all they care about. Like, there was a beautiful speech by Henry Allen at the Australian Age Nationals that has just gone on, and he broke the Australian 17 boys age group record by 2 and a bit seconds in the 200 backstroke. And he was just like, I'm just really happy that I executed the race plan well, and my coach was happy that I did that. He broke the Australian record for someone who held the world record for the 200 backstroke for 10 years. And his biggest bit of satisfaction was, I did what I set out to do. And the record just came.
Yeah. Process over outcomes.
Process over outcomes. The man who likes walking will walk further than the man who likes the destination.
Yeah. And I think we're lucky for the most part, for a lot of the people that come through our doors, is parents and the kids alike appreciate that more probably than the average person. That's why they come in, because they understand that this is extra work I need to do as part of that process to get better and hopefully achieve my goal. Understand that there's no guarantee that goal happens, but that pursuit is a big part of development, and if you want to get there, it's kind of necessity. The trade-off there, and I guess the benefit, even if you don't achieve it, there is so much to gain from having worked hard at something. And if all else happens in the next 2 to 3 years, you figure out that even if it's going well, that all this work you no longer don't enjoy, then it just told you that actually, even if you could achieve it, say you could get drafted, maybe you shouldn't. And now's the time to step and decide a different path. So there's the work to get there, but there's also the finding out about, do I enjoy it? Am I passionate about this? Do I actually want it?
Yeah.
And I think that's just as beneficial, because, myself, a few career changes, somewhere along the way I could have learnt that, maybe I'm not on the right path, and if I'd had known that sooner, maybe the trajectory is a bit quicker to where I wanted to be. But we are where we are for a reason, and we learn those lessons, and we keep pushing to be better.
100%. Why do you think it is that people that aren't as successful get so obsessed with mindset but get it wrong?
They're majoring in the minors, and I think it links back to I think the primary thing it links back to is not willing to face the biggest restraint.
What do you mean by that? Yeah,
they're not willing to face the biggest constraint, because often that is the biggest roadblock or the biggest challenge they have to overcome.
Such as their habits?
Well, the classic one for us is the kids we talk to that just don't come in because when they understand what is required to improve their speed. Now, speed, I would say, in every sport, we talked about a few weeks ago, even the marathon. If you are slow, you cannot be an elite marathon runner because it's just higher speeds for a long time. If you don't have the high speed, you're not going to repeat it for a K, you're not going to repeat it for 42.2 kilometres, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So what do they default to? They kind of ignore that the speed is their issue. They know it, but they don't want to do it because it's not what they're comfortable with and it's different. And so what they do, they just go get crazy fit.
Yep.
Now, they'll get some results and they get told, oh, yeah, he's a fit runner, he can run all day, rah, rah, rah. Do they achieve success? It is 99.9% still a no, because the thing that was holding back their performance didn't get improved.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of examples in the boys and the women's footy, see it in basketball, netball. It doesn't matter how fit you get if you have a glaring weakness, which, for example, speed.
Yeah.
Now, if you're scrawny, undersized, and super talented, super quick, well, at some point, if you play a sport where there's physicality, contact, your limiting factor is going to be your size. So if you do nothing about that, you're going to have the same issue.
That was my issue. I got thrown around like a rag doll in footy.
Yeah, which, yes, you can be really strong and big, but again, if you don't have enough fitness to run out games and enough speed to use that strength, again, you get found out.
Yeah.
You're useless. So you might play at this level, but you won't get to that level because at the next level, everyone has base level attributes, and then everyone has above average, and then everyone has exceptional.
Yeah.
So you have to be exceptional to be the pass mark.
Yeah.
Let alone the
you go up levels.
Yeah. To be the best at that level. So I think where mindset fits in is it's a little bit of a procrastination tool to say, yeah, I'm focused, I'm doing this. Yeah, my mindset is I've got to get fitter, but I don't think it counts if it's on the wrong things. And that's the biggest difference between the successful and unsuccessful. They have the right mindset, like the attitude, they do the work, they're very process focused, but they're focused on the right things. Like we look at Darcy, and he's in all over the media at the moment around his contract, and I think he's going to get paid really well, which is great. But he deserves to, because and it's not that he just comes back to us. He comes back to us because he's regarded as one of the best runners in the AFL. He sees a weakness around his 0 to 10. Which he's always had because he's been a skinnier kid growing up, great middle distance runner, footy obviously always very good, really good running vert, all that stuff, good top end speed, but because he was always sort of weaker and didn't have a great technique for acceleration, a lot more suited to running down the wing, he was like, well, I want to play mid, but I can't play mid because I'm slow off the mark. Like I'm not exceptional. I'm good, but I'm not exceptional. And I get away with it because I just get on the move and I play outside. He's like, but my evolution is to get better inside. So what does he do? He comes back for 8 weeks when everyone else is overseas and gets to work in the gym and on the speed sessions to add muscle, to get quicker off the mark. So that then, and to build his body so he can then handle the next 10 months of training to hopefully play some midfield minutes. With no guarantee that he'll even get that opportunity.
It's his obsession of getting better and doing work to get better is why he is the way he is. He is not good because he is good naturally. He is good because of his obsession with getting good and wanting to practice again over and over and over again. And I would say he's more scared of being found out for having a weakness than he is actually of doing a good job. He probably would operate slightly from a place of fear and obsession over removing these little weaknesses he's got. And I remember some really cool data that you pulled. So RSI, for people who don't know that, is your
reactive strength index,
which is essentially when someone comes off, some of the kids will know it from when they're in the gym as well, when someone comes off one of the little platforms and they'll come down, and it's how well they absorb their force and then they're able to produce force back upwards. Now, Darcy has the most elite level RSI. And one of the really cool things that you taught me was you actually wanted to make him less springy so that he could get off the mark faster. And it's a really cool example of when you've got intention, meaning data science with masterful coaching. And it goes to show that just because something is your strength or one of your A-list talents doesn't mean that you actually have to keep pushing on it. If you're already fit, don't have to keep getting fit, mate.
No.
Get fast. If you're already fit and fast, get strong. if you're already fit, fast and strong, but your skills are not there, you need to spend more time on the skills.
Yep.
And it all just comes back to like this mindset. It is a belief. It is an approach in the way that you look at challenges. And it's, if you see a weakness, are you going to attack the weakness and make it so it's no longer as strong of a weakness? Or are you just going to be the person who wants to be known for one specific attribute? And like, what's the easiest way? Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, there was a really good reel this morning. I saw Victor Wembanyama, the big French fella for the Spurs.
Yep.
He uses a constraint-based approach to his training.
Yeah, right.
So how his coach breaks it down is, so he would run a play, and the constraint was you have to make the best decision in the moment. Mm-hmm. That was it. So that every time he ran a play at training, they would then break it down. And so there was this one example they showed where it was like he made a decision and he scored. So most people be like, yep, NBA player, scored a basket, awesome.
Not the best decision though.
They said when they actually watched it back, if he went the other way, he had more space. And they
Yeah.
said, in theory, that is the better play. So
Yeah.
you actually did the wrong decision. So you scored just because you're 7'8" tall, you're a freak of nature, like you know, good handles, like
Wemby.
shoots the ball,
Yeah,
Wemby,
that's
shoots
it,
the
yeah.
three, like can do everything. He's like, but in terms of odds, that wasn't the best play in that moment. So he's still learning. He's unpacking it, and he's arguably the best talent in the NBA.
This is going to sound hilarious, but teenage athletes, adults even, are actually a lot more like puppies than people realise. And it's like, if you have a dog and it sits near the table and you feed it once, it is going to come back again and again and again, waiting to get fed from the table. And the problem is that people attribute a successful moment, such as, I don't know, someone trying to score like an outside three and just absolutely hurling it and it going in with, oh, I should do that again because everyone went wild for me, as opposed to going, what is the correct play to do?
Yep.
And this is where people's mindset, like, oh no, I just need to practice more
Yeah.
outside threes. And they're practicing completely the wrong thing because they're being a selfish player, because they're not playing to the percentages. And if you play it over and over again enough times, you'll actually be making more and more poor decisions. But kids will see success, especially young kids that develop early. They're typically the worst athletes because they'll grow and they actually get lazier, and they learn that they can just muscle their way through and try harder rather than training consistently and getting better. So they get rewarded for the wrong things because everyone focuses on time and not process of technique. Like, I'm very technique processed, given that swimming has so many drag profiles and how people interact with fluid dynamics. But it's really interesting, kids that develop early, and notoriously I've been known for not having very good juniors, and then kids hit 14, 15 and they just go whoosh, like that. And it's because we focus on the right things over a long period of time. I made the mistakes of focusing on the wrong things, even as a coach to start off with. And that's where, if you want your kid to do well, you need to make sure that you've got someone who actually has a plan for not 1 or 2 years, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, possibly. And you're developing the person as much as you're developing the athlete, because the person has to make the decisions that affect the athlete's capacity, capabilities, and their outputs.
Couldn't agree more. Actually, when you was talking there, it made me think of a question I had yesterday in the gym around our new reporting. And a kid came up to me, which was fantastic, that he's looking at this and thinking this way. And he had a few of the flags come up in his report and goes, what does this mean and how do I fix them?
Yep.
And he'd just been doing a split squat exercise and going probably just a tad heavier, which is last week of the block. They've been building up a little bit, and particularly on one side. And so the flag was in and around some of the asymmetry stuff. And I said, well, this is why technique is so important. And we harp on it and you think I'm just trying to hold you back. And it's more than just a safety issue. It's also actually a performance issue, because on one side, your strong side, you can actually do it with good technique because it's stronger, and the target muscle we're trying to work on and the target movement improves because you're doing it the right way. Now, when you switch to your left leg, it's weaker. Now, the problem with that is if you do the same weight, now what happens is, because your body compensates and finds the path of least resistance, you're not actually using the muscle that's weaker, and you're strengthening the compensation pattern, not actually the problem. So what you're in doing so, you're actually making your asymmetry bigger, not smaller. So you're making the problem worse because the brain goes, I can't do that. So it leans forward, it strengthens up the hip, and actually takes load off the quad and the knee area to actually build it up. So if you keep doing that every training session, you think, oh yeah, I do these split squats for my quads and my knee health. But what you're actually doing is you're doing split squats and for your quad and your knee asymmetry and actually developing a bigger weakness, which is even more dangerous because you think you're looking after it, but you're actually making it worse.
Yeah, it's pretty hard for people to know as well because they just measure the numbers as opposed to like actually look in a mirror to see what's going on.
So in terms of mindset, it is things like having a plan, being really consistent, but it's the attitude and the mindset around their training, like what we've spoken about, you know, working on your weaknesses, doing things to the best of your ability, being coachable, not worrying about the short term, thinking more that long term game. And yeah, I think you would agree that the young people and adults we've come across that have that approach are typically the ones that go the furthest, not just in their sporting career, but with everything else as well.
Oh, for sure.